you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you're joining me from. I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Accept my greeting according to your time zone. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You can be among the first to receive it. Then go to the comment section at all times. Leave your comment, drop your contribution. If you have suggestions, make it out there. If you have any criticism, put it down on the comment section. It will make us to get better, presenting you a better program.
It's with a prominent Nigerian senior lawyer, Mr. Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, who is live with us virtually. It's good to see you, Mr. Falana. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. What a time it is in our political history. Our elections have been debated, and issues coming out of this election are also being heavily debated. I know you are a reputable lawyer in the land, and I know that you know the rules guiding substantial cases before the court, and I know you might not want to delve into those matters, but without having to touch on the meat of the petitions before the Presidential Election Tribunal, there's been a lot of controversy. Can you please give some kind of explanation and some kind of explainer on what has divided many Nigerians on the issue of the Section 134 of the Constitution in just simple time, without delving into the meat of what is before the court?
Well, I had expressed an opinion on Section 134 of the Constitution on the 23rd of January this year. That's about a month before the presidential election. On that occasion, I expressed a legal opinion. And that was why I was very hesitant to join the bandwagon when lawyers started giving political interpretation of that section. My position this year, in January this year, and I think it was my respected colleague Olisa Agbakova that expressed concern and drew the attention of the INEC to Section 134 of the Constitution, and that it might create some problem. And on that occasion, through your medium, I did state that there is no electoral college in Nigeria, and therefore the votes cast, or recorded in any part of are equal. Section 134 of the Constitution specifically requires a winner of a presidential election to meet certain requirements. The first one is to score the majority of lawful votes, and the second one is the territorial spread. 2/3 majority of the states and the Federal Capital Territory. And since the Federal Capital Territory has been interpreted to be the 37th state in Nigeria for the purpose of the Constitution, I didn't see any controversy at the material time, and that was when I expressed my opinion. But now that it has become a serious legal issue, and the matter is now pending in court, I'm very, very reluctant to speak definitively on the section, because there are decisions of our court on the status of Abuja, 2 judgments of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. There is also the judgment of the Supreme Court on the quality of votes recorded in every state in the country. So since these decisions are available to all lawyers in Nigeria, to all my colleagues, I would have expected the debate to be anchored on decided cases, particularly by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Again, as I said, since the matter is pending in the Court of Appeal already has been raised in some of the petitions to that extent. I'm not expected to express my opinion so that one does not disrespect the court. But as I did say, I'd expressed an opinion when the election had not held, a month of the presidential election. And I stand by my position, which is that Abuja has been interpreted to be the 37th state in. I can't go beyond that for now, Shim.
I know you can. For a lot of, it's been a lot of controversies and there's been a lot of division along party lines on the interpretation. Some will say, oh, it comes interpreted. Some say, no, it has been decided by our court. Of course, Section 134, for those who do not have their constitution very close, let me state that just concisely what the lawyer, Mr. Fulani, just stated now. And because Mr. Fulani doesn't want to go deeper into it, you might as well just go onto Channel's YouTube page, and that's channelstvweb.com, and you can also find out for yourself what Mr. Fulani has said earlier. We're not lawbreakers. We do not want to touch on what the courts are going to be deliberating on. Highest number of votes, and of course, spread to 25% into third of the state of the Federation, plus the AFCT. We'll be hoping and looking forward to what the court will decide on this matter. Perhaps we'll lay that to rest if there's anything that happen. And so, Mr. Fulani, I'm not sure a lot of people imagined that the 1979 scenario could play out. For some people have said, this is looking like, it may not be exactly like this. Did you envision that this election might be, for example, we had perhaps the lowest percentage of votes that have been won by anybody that has been declared as president-elect in this country in this election. Did you ever thought that this election was going to turn out like this?
Well, as regards to our experience in the past, and once it was clear that there were more than two strong candidates at the embassy, that we might have this kind of scenario. But there are people who are suspecting that we might be having a second or rerun election for those who are the fear that a clear winner might not emerge. So there's nothing that has happened, to be honest with you, that can be said to be strange. Elections in Nigeria since 1999 we've had overbloated figures, and since 1999 what you call voter apathy might not capture the problem. We may now begin to interrogate the figures that are recorded, the figures, the number of people registered to vote. A friend was telling me that whereas in his own area, in one of the states, up to 2019, the least votes from some riverine area would be in the neighborhood of at least 130,000. But this time around, it's barely 5,000. Because you have to be captured by the reverse machine before you can be said to have voted. So whereas about 93 people registered to vote, and we're told that 87 million collected their PVC. In a place like Lagos, 6.2 million people collected their PVC. But at the end of the day, the presidential election attracted only 1.2 million. So those figures that were recorded in the past for majority of the states have been taken away by the beavers machine. And that is why the number has gone down. Yes, you might have recorded voter apathy in a number of states. But in terms of the presidential election, where it was reported by the media that there was a large turnout, at the end of the day, we're talking of barely 25 million voters. So it is high time, the media, began to examine these figures. And that's my position.
All right. So let me,
I'm not in any way taken aback.
Yeah.
Because I have an idea of how some of these figures are generated. And at the end of the day, the number of voters that really show up does not usually add up.
All right. Let's go.
Our elections have always ended in tribunals. And that was why I had once described what goes on in Nigeria as tribunalization of democracy. Increasing involvement of our court in elections it does not happen anywhere in the world. For instance, we had 1,200 pre-elections, 600 appeals in the Court of Appeal, and about 120 in the Supreme Court. Now, election petitions are being filed. 400 judges, 7 judges have been invited to participate in election petition, to hear election petition cases. And for the next 6 months, the cases in those courts, the cases in the courts manned by those judges will have to be adjourned. Very soon, appeals will arise from the election petition tribunal. Again, appeals in other matters are going to suffer, including matters that have to do with the liberty of citizens. So many Nigerians are complaining now. Why should you have courts that are saddled with the responsibility of hearing only election petition and appeals arising from them? So it requires perhaps a review of the suggestion that one had made before now. We have a pool of retired judges. Why don't we invite them to handle election petitions while the regular courts will settle down and ensure that their work is not disrupted?
All right. Mr. Fulani, let me jump in quickly. I have a few issues that I'd like you to touch on, but I'd like them to be tackled quickly. There is some worries, though, as we're approaching some of the hearings and the court, especially presidential election tribunal. Do you have confidence, based on what has happened recently in our courts about and now the politicking that we've seen in the land and the intensity and the tension that we have seen in the land? What is your biggest fear as far as the integrity of the judiciary is concerned today in respect of these petitions?
So I'm not going to join some of my colleagues who are rubbishing the courts. I go to the court on a daily basis. If I have a problem with any court, or any judge for that matter, what I'm required to do is to write a petition and submit to the NJC, National Judicial Council. But I cannot, for goodness sake, embark on what I call the fallacy of generalization. Oh, Nigerian courts are bad. Nigerian judges will not dispense justice. For me, once you prepare your case, for me, I don't think there should be any cost.
So, I mean,
elections have been annulled in Nigeria by our courts. Our courts had ordered rerun elections, even in the case of presidential election. One of them, I think, the case of Buhari and Yaradua and Atiku and Yaradua, the president-elect escaped narrowly. It was a decision of 4 to 3 justices of the Supreme Court. But that election of 2007, the winner of the election, the late President Umaru Yar'Adua, did say publicly that the election was highly flawed. In some of the states, not less than 5, elections were held, and rerun elections were ordered. And as far as I'm concerned, if election petitions are well prepared, and it's much easier now than before, because in the case of Buhari and Obasanjo, the late Justice Pat Achololu did say that to win a presidential election,
oh dear, we're having some technical glitches, reconnection with Mr. Fulani. Okay.
Witness, but that is no longer the case. With electronic, technology that has been introduced into our electoral system, it is no longer so onerous to prove election petitions. In this case, if you are able to get your Beavers report, because what is not usually recorded, overvoting, writing of figures, manipulation of results, it is now very easy to deal with those matters. In the case of, I think, Anambra State, the case between Obi and Ngige, the current Minister of Labor and Employment, they were caught for almost 3 years. You had a man who didn't win the election, who was in there for 3 years. So at the time, the case was and the argument arose as to whether somebody who didn't win the election would be in office for 3 years. Why the weather would not just go in there and tell you Mr. Peter Obi, I just want to go and completely tell you. And I have to say, what tenure?
And you will not say
it's 10 years unknown to you. So go to court and ask for an interpretation. And of course, the Supreme Court will say that,
welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are joining from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you are notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much, and remain blessed. If you are joining me from Africa, Asia, Europe, America, Australia, or any part of the world, I thank you very much for your contribution. Please, each time you watch my video, go to the comment section and put down your comment. That is where we learn from each other. We learn a lot from the comment section. I don't speak alone. I am speaking with you. You can equally contribute. You can criticize if you so desire, but do it constructively so that we can learn from one another. That is why we are here. Thank you so much for joining. Remember, you have to say what is happening in your own area. Whatever happens, if you see something, say something. Don't be silent. We cannot allow the conventional media to continue to change the narrative. We cannot allow the conventional media to continue to play down the situation. We will continue to bring the situation the way it is and say it straight the way it is without hating anybody. We are not preaching hate speech. We are not talking down anybody. We say leave and let's leave. And for those who say we will not leave, just like the Fulani Janjaweed have said, they will not leave either.
On the election should not be shrouded in secrecy. For that reason, I support the call by the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Yakubu Meka, SAN, that the proceedings should be televised. It's in the interest of our judges. It's in the interest of the public. And again, it enhances the credibility of the judiciary.
All right.
And I'm very sure that the suggestion will be seriously considered.
Yeah. So we'll see how things pan. My final question tonight is in the area of violence, and I just have about 60 seconds to go. It's in the area of violence. And Serap today was coming out to saying that INEC should investigate those governors who are said to have allegedly perpetrated violence in the election. So the question would be, does INEC have the powers? In fact, if they investigate, what becomes of those reports that will be submitted, considering the immunity that some of the governors enjoy? What becomes of that kind of suits that Serap has threatened upon INEC?
Well, Serap's position is based on the number of arrests that have been made by the police, the EFCC, SSS, ICPC, and the rest of them, and even the military. Some were caught distributing money, inducing that. Some engaged themselves in killing, electoral violence. And I think one of the NGOs had come up with a figure of about 109 people were killed. That was before the governorship election. During the governorship election, more have been added. The governors who are in power are going to lose their immunity in the next couple of months. Now, and they can be pursued thereafter. And that is what is going on in the United States of America, where President Trump is being investigated for interfering with the election in Georgia. So the question of immunity does not arise. INEC is empowered by Section 145 of the Electoral Act 2022 to prosecute electoral offenders. And since INEC says it does not have the power, the facilities to do that, the Nigerian Bar Association has offered to help. We did it in 2011 successfully. The MBA has now invited, has requested INEC to sign all the files that have to do with electoral offenses. The Inspector General of Police has already ordered all commissioners of police to send the case file to the INEC, and I get forward transmission to the Nigerian Bar Association. Unless we deal with impunity, electoral violence, electoral malfeasance will never stop in our country. And we must make a point this time around. All right. That all those who engage in inducement of voters, alteration of results, ethnic profiling, and the rest of them will have to be dealt with here. The question of going to the ICC or begging the West to impose these type sanctions, for me, almost suggests that we're incapable to deal with electoral offenses in our country. With the commitment of the Nigerian Bar Association and the INEC, let us begin the process of bringing people to book for a heinous offense.
All right.
That's my position.
NSA, Mr. Femi Falana, rights activist and senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you indeed for your thoughts tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jim.